What's up, YouTube? Georgia Silver Hunter back, and today we are going to kind of wrap up 2023 and the silver finds and the mini silver purchase that I had while I was away on my Christmas and New Year's vacation. So what you see here on the left is a little purchase I made. I want to talk about this junk silver, the price I paid and how it compares to buying this with online bullion dealers. And I want to talk about the silver I found while I was driving around and checking out a couple of banks up in New York and Virginia over really from about December 20th to December 30th. So with that said, let's jump into it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and start with our silver finds. So I was up in the Ballston Lake, Saratoga Springs area of New York City, or not of New York City, but New York State, just a couple of weeks ago. And while I was out there, I was able to stop at the big bank on their main street. And they had some half dollars. I ended up buying 10 rolls. I was with my family and we were out having lunch, and I kind of quickly went through them at lunch. So I didn't really have an opportunity to film them or do a short. But what I can tell you is out of those 10 rolls, we found a 1964 90% Kennedy half dollar. And it may not be these exact two, but it was two 40% silver half dollars in those first 10 rolls. Well, I ended up going back to that bank because they did have more half dollars. And very, very long story short, we had a very hard time getting, because I didn't have an account at the bank, getting them to take my rolled coins back that I had just bought from them so I could get the next 10. But after much to do, we were able to work something out. I did get 10 more rolls from that bank. I went through them all and didn't find any more silver. So for New York, all I found was 190 and 240s. And I'm going to get to the value of these things here in just a second. But after a few days in New York, we ended up driving down to the Arlington, Virginia area. And on one of the days, I drove around for about an hour or two. There was 5 or 6 or 7 banks, mainly like Union banks. I did a short on one of the coins you're going to see in here already. We hit some Truists. We hit some Wells Fargos. We hit like a Bank of America. And I don't have accounts at most of those banks. And I explained when I went in, if they asked if I had an account, that I was just here visiting family and I'm a coin collector and I was looking for half dollars. And if they had any, I would love to trade them for cash, right? And didn't have any trouble from anybody, quite frankly. But I wasn't trying to buy large volumes. It was really just buying a roll here or there or a handful of coins out of their trays. So I did stop at a Wells Fargo that I do in fact have an account at. And I was able to get 6 40% half dollars and a 2006 San Francisco clad proof out of those rolls from that Wells Fargo. So again, the dates are not that relevant, but I'll read them off here. We got a couple of 66s, a 69, a 67, a really, really nice 65. I do remember this coming out of one of those rolls. And I think it was another 66. I had put down a 67 and 68 over here. Again, not uber relevant where, if I got these at Wells Fargo or not. The main thing is that I did get 6 40% half dollars out of whatever it was, 5 or 6 rolls and a proof. And then I did film a short on this. I was able to come across a 1942 Walking Liberty. It is a Philadelphia, out of a teller tray at a Union Bank. He had 2 coins, 1 clad, and this 1 Walking Liberty. And I just, I didn't get too excited. I just said, can I buy him? Here's a dollar bill. He said, yep, no problem. Handed him to me, and away I went. So this would be our second 90% silver half dollar. So there at the end of the year, we did end up getting 10 silver coins just by stopping by banks for an hour or so. Maybe an hour and a half if I combine the two, because we were already in Saratoga Springs walking around, so I didn't have to make special trips for that. But if we want to look at what these things are worth today, I've written this down on a little cheat sheet over here, that at today's spot price, which it has dropped 30 or 40 cents per troy ounce since I got these, but at today's spot price, we are looking at a 90% half dollar without premiums being worth about $8.55. We are looking at these 40% silver half dollars being worth about $3.50 a piece. And I'll put the total value of this on the screen, but my recollection was this was something like $43, $45, $46 worth of silver that I basically paid $5 for in a little bit of my time. So if you're new to this channel or any other coin roll hunting channel, this is why we do this. This is finding face value silver is what this is all about. It doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen all the time, but we love it when it does happen. So very, very cool finds at the end of the year. If you were curious how I did on the year, I don't have an exact tally for silver halves because I only went back and tallied up what I put on camera and posted to YouTube, which was probably 95% of my hunts. I had 184 silver half dollars with about 125 of those being 40%. If I had to guess, here's 10 more, so that puts us at 194. Again, didn't really put that in box hunts on YouTube. I did do a short on this one, but that's not included in my tally. And then I have a whole bunch that I posted, I won't say a whole bunch, a handful that I posted throughout this year as shorts or quick finds that weren't full videos. So I had 200 plus silvers on the year, and I hunted, or at least I cataloged 98 boxes of half dollars. So nearly $50,000 in half dollars that you guys saw. And like I said, I remember at least 6 boxes of full 2021s that I opened and immediately returned. So I know I was well over 100 boxes, but not by much. Maybe 105, 110, somewhere in there. So with that, we're going to move on over here to my little silver purchase. And I want to tell you that story as well really quickly. And we're going to dump these out and take a look at what we have. Nothing in here is a surprise to me because I paid for this stuff. But there was a little shop called The Vault in Saratoga Springs. He had a 90% junk silver bin of half dollars that were 18 times face. And I did a quick look online at our online bullion dealers like APMEX, SD Bullion, Monument Metals. To find Walkers and Benjis, typically there's a little higher premium than the 1964 Kennedy. But in general, they range from 19 times face, which means $19 for every $1 in 90% silver. So every 2 90% half dollars, all the way up to about 23 times face for the silver that I'm about to show you here. I picked all of this up for 18 times face. And there's a couple of surprises in here. So let's take a quick look. I'm not going to do a super dramatic dump out here because we just don't have that much stuff. We'll start with the big and the obvious one. He did have peace dollars and Morgan dollars in a bin for, I think these were in the $26 or $27 bin. This is an 1885. Unfortunately, I didn't have my catalog with me, so I didn't know what year I wanted or needed. But this one had some of the, oops, there it goes. This one had some of the better detail, which you can tell there's not, it's not a great coin. This is not mint state or even AU by any stretch. But of all the coins he had in that bin, this one probably looked the nicest from just an overall look and feel. And I did like the, sort of the toning or the darkening on the coin. It is an 1885 regular Philly, so no, New Orleans mint mark or Carson City or anything. Trust me, I checked them all. The bin was mainly full of 1921s and 1922s. And like I said, most of them were in fairly bad condition. There were a few 1921 Morgans that were in pretty darn good shape, but I just didn't pick those up. I wanted something a little bit older. But again, I think I paid like $26 or $27 for that. Now, when going through the 90% bin, there were Kennedys, there were Benjis, there were Walkers, but the two that you probably see here, they came out on top that I quickly grabbed and put aside, was this 1893 Columbian Expo. This is actually not in bad shape. Again, not mint state by any stretch, but not bad shape for being sort of in his junk silver bin, and definitely worth more than the $9 I paid for it. Not a ton more. I mean, we'll get over and we'll look at some prices in a few minutes, but this coin, maybe, $10, $12, $15 is what I'm going to say here on camera. When we get over to the computer, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but that's what I would guess in a private sale right now. The other one that jumped out at me very, very quickly as I went through them was he had this 1902 Barber. Now, the downside of doing a coin like this is it is so well worn, there's actually less silver in this than there is in this. So for my $9, I bought less silver, but a 1902 graded in G4, which I'm not sure this one would get there. According to PCGS in retail, this is like a $40-something coin. Now, again, I have no belief that I would get that if I were to try to sell this. I would probably, again, be looking in that $10 to maybe $15 range. But actually getting this coin has given me the itch to start a Barber book. So I'll be on the lookout for a Barber Dansko album. And if I can find one, we may see in 2024 the Georgia Silver Hunter either purchasing, or I probably have to, purchase some Barber half dollars and start that little collection. I only have, I think, 4 or 5 Barbers right now in my collection. So the rest of these are fairly standard Walking Liberties, and I did have a couple of Benjis. I picked one up to show you. This 1963 was just pretty blingin', and it is a Denver. And for it being in the junk silver bin, I just thought this one's too nice to let it go. Like the 64s were pretty grungy and pretty beat up, and this was one I just, it's a common year, but it looked great for being $9. There was one more in here. There was a 1949. I think this might have been the oldest one he had in the junk silver bin. And we'll look at a price on that as well, or I'll just throw it up on the screen, sort of in an average grade. But again, typically in a private sale, these would be looking at, $9 to $10, call it, in a private sale with your premiums and things like that. So the rest of these were all just Walking Liberties. We'll quickly go through the dates, and I'm going to call out a couple of them. Now, the main reason I picked these is either because they were earlier years or they were mint marks that I didn't think I had, and we're going to talk about this book here in just a second that I have, because I've been filling out a Walking Liberty set, but I've been doing it differently than a lot of my other collections, and I've been doing it off camera, so you guys haven't seen it. This 1942 that I have here, maybe we'll just go one at a time. I picked this up mainly just due to the detail on it for being in the junk bin. We've got some detail here sort of in the breastplate area, or the breast area. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be wearing like some chainmail. But typically when you have a little bit of detail on there, it's generally considered to be in a little bit higher condition. Now this one does look like it might have been dipped or polished at some point. We got ourselves a 1945 San Francisco, which I thought looked pretty darn good. The oldest one I found, and I'm kind of kicking myself because he did have a handful of 1917s, 1918s, and 1920s. And this was the nicer of the 1917s, and you can tell it's not in great shape, and it's definitely been polished. But it was old, and I didn't think I would have this particular year, and I may not. We'll check the book here in a second. This 1944, you should be able to tell here on camera, I picked this up because this did not belong in a $9 junk bin. The detail on this guy is really, really good. Again, not mint state, but we're also not talking like very good either, right? This is a little bit higher grade Walking Liberty. So that was one I definitely picked up and probably going to be an upgrade in my book. We got ourselves a 1943 San Francisco, mainly picked up for the mint mark. We had ourselves a 1935. Here's a 1936. And this one was also a San Francisco. We had a 1937 Philly. A little bit of detail on that one, not a great deal. There's another 1939, this time a Denver. Now, this was another one. It needs a little bit of dipping and a little bit of care and love. But again, more detail on this one than a lot of them. It's just kind of ugly because it's got some maybe glue or something on it. A little bit of easy ester acetone may help eat that up. But I thought this one looked really, really nice, and that's why I grabbed this one. It is a Philly. Here was one of the 1920s. Now, 1920 is, I believe, one of the lower mintage years. Not in great shape, but I know for a fact I did not have this 1920. And I think in better grades, this can be a really valuable coin, and we'll look at that as well in a minute. And of course, this 1945 was one of the nicer looking coins that they had in there. It's also one of the later years, so it's not unreasonable for this one to be in a little bit nicer condition. So I picked all of those up. It was like $8, I think. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 and 90% silver. We had that Morgan dollar, and I paid like $174 or $175 for it at the 18 times face plus the Morgan. So I was super happy with this purchase. Let me put these aside real quick and show you the book that I was talking about. So you guys have seen a lot of I have a lot of the Whitman folders. I have a couple of the Whitman albums. This is something I've started putting, I guess, more numismatically relevant things in. So you can see up here, I've got a 1914S if it's on camera, a 1907D, a 1903 Barber. I've got a couple of uncirculated Columbian Expo halves, some seated halves. So I'm just kind of putting my nicer stuff in here and my older stuff. Like here's a trade dollar, an 1836 drape bust, or capped bust, I think is what it's called. Some proof quarter, so on and so forth. But anyway, this was the book that I decided I would start doing my Walking Liberty. And let me turn this off. I don't know if it'll help. I don't know if that's too dark for you, but this is where I decided to start my Walking Liberty series, and it looks like I do have that 1917, but you can see from the beginning all the way up through 1923S, I'm missing most of those coins. That 1920 will end up somewhere in here, but this is another way to do your collections. If you're looking for an interesting way to hold on to your coins, you can either do plastic flips and put them in here or put them in cardboard flips like I've done. And I'm just going to continue to upgrade this as I find new coins, and I'm going to go through the coins I just bought and see if we can upgrade any of the coins in here. Like I said, I know that 1920 is going to fit in there, but our 40s are pretty much full. We're just missing a handful on that page, and then we are at the end of it. So I believe I might need to actually add one more page. I can't remember exactly where the Walking Liberty ended. I'll look that up and post it on the screen. But this is my current Walking Liberty situation, and I am also considering getting a Dansko album for these, but this is how I'm storing them for now, just so I can keep track of them. So hopefully that's pretty cool. I do want to quickly jump over to the computer and just kind of show you guys coin apps and a couple of resources you're going to need if you are starting a collection and trying to understand how to grade your coins. So let's jump on over there. All right, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through some of these web pages and resources for you. I've covered them on other videos, but just wanted to call them out for you if you're new to sort of coin collecting or coin roll hunting or purchasing silver. But the first thing I wanted to point out here was coinapps.com. A lot of times when I do screenshots of actual melt value, this is where I'm getting them from. When you go to coin apps, there's a bunch of cards in here that you can click on, and one of them is US coinage or US silver. And you can see here, this is where I got my values from the beginning of the video, where I had 8 40% silvers, 1 90% Kennedy, 1 90% Walking Liberty half dollar that I found in circulation. And we came up with the $45. Now, it's taken me a couple of days to wrap up this video, and even the spot price was higher than this when I found all that stuff. It was $23.64 while making it, and if I update the price today, you can see silver's actually gone down. So I've actually lost value on my finds. But if you're looking to see what the melt value of these coins are, this is a great resource, coinapps.com. You can see it up here in the upper left-hand corner, and I use this all the time. Now, if you're pricing your silver to see what you might pay for it at a coin shop or a pawn shop, you're going to pay more than melt value because there are premiums on junk silver or constitutional silver. In a private sale, if you can buy it at spot or under spot, that's great. But oftentimes, if you're selling it, you want to get spot or better. So this is at least a good starting price point to see, a minimum that you should be looking to get. When it comes to some of the other things, like we talk about grading coins, and I'd mentioned I had on the screen about my Barber being sort of in a about good to a VG or something like that. There's this thing called PCGS Photo Grade. The URL's right here. I'll actually start over for you. This is what the page looks like. So you can drill into the type of coin you're looking for. So for us, it was that half dollar. We wanted to look at Barbers, and I just clicked this button because I knew we'd be way down here. And you can compare the front and the back of your coin to example grades from PCGS. So I know based on mine, I had a little bit of detail here in the crown. The reverse was kind of somewhere between these two. So I would, safely, comfortably say that 1902 was in a G4 to G6 condition. I think I listed in the bottom of the video about good, just to say, you know what, maybe it's not as good as I want it to be, just to give me some wiggle room. And I already have it up here. If you go to PCGS, the main website, and go into the price guide, you can drill in to individual coins. So as you can see here, I've drilled into the 1902. From here, I can get all the details on it, how much it should weigh, what metal content, what the mintage is, so on and so forth. And these, when we talk about retail prices for graded coins, That's down here on the bottom. So the top line is your grade. The second line is actually your price. And this is what PCGS says that your coin should be worth. That's not to say what it is worth or what you could get for it. So that 1902 and a G4 they're saying is worth $42 graded. And to grade a coin with PCGS, you have membership fees, grading fees, and shipping fees. And you're easily going to spend $30 or so getting your coin graded. And that's assuming you already have a membership. So, you're going to eat up most of this profit. So you're almost better off in a lot of cases just selling something raw or ungraded. And I did go ahead and pull up on eBay the 1902 Philly. Now this one's nicer than mine. And they got $24.50 and $5 shipping. If you want to get something closer to my grade, this $15 with 90 cents in shipping is probably closer to the grade of my coin. Maybe even a little nicer than what I have. So like I said, I think I could easily get more than $9, but I am most certainly not getting $42. And I understand that. And I have people in the comments that call me on it all the time. And when I talk about PCGS prices, I'm talking about retail price. So I'm always realistic in what I think I could get for the coin. We're not going to drill into this too much, but I did go ahead and pull up like the 1893 Columbian Expo to show you again retail prices. I do think the one I have is in a little bit higher grade up here, $15, $16. And I can tell you I have sold these in the condition that I showed you in private sales in this kind of price range, $15 to $18, upwards of $20. So that one I'm a little more comfortable with on the grading scale. And a lot of that is just people either want one or they don't have one or they've never seen one before. And they are much more rare from a mintage perspective. So people are willing to spend a little bit more on it. You can do the same thing with the Walking Liberties. I'm not going to pull up anything. Well, I guess I will here real quick. The 1920s. Earlier in the video, I told you that rare and could be valuable. And I did put in a pop-up that the DNS obviously are more rare. So when you get up into like I think 30s now in your fine or very fine range, a D could fetch as much as 575 graded. So that 1920 D is kind of the one you're looking for. 125 for a 1920 is not bad, but I'd much rather have that D or that S and that kind of grade. Mine would definitely be in a 4, maybe even less. And I think in a private sale, you're probably getting junk silver price on it. So, kind of between that, kind of what I mentioned earlier, 18 to maybe 23 times face for that barber. I'm sorry, I'm speaking barbers. Your walker, you're probably closer to the 19-20 times face. I did also go ahead and pull up the 1885 just so I had that in here. 17.786 million minted. I do think that mine's probably in this lower end of the scale. And I see Morgan dollars going all day these days. And the quality I showed you for more than I paid. $26, $27 in a lot of places is cull. And cull is way more slick than what I showed you. For a lot of places when you're talking cull, you're looking at coins kind of down here in the G3, about good 3 and the good 4. And I think mine is easily up here kind of in that VG to F range. So not completely cull, but definitely not super collectible either. So I did want to show you coin apps. I wanted to show you PCGS and the photo grade service. The last thing that I'll show you here is if you haven't seen this, they do have the Cherry Picker's Guide available on Kindle. And I did use this guide to go through looking at all of my Walking Liberties and the Barber to see if there were any known varieties on those coins in this book. And this is actually the Kindle version. There's 2 volumes. I want to say I picked these up for like $15 or $16 a piece. I understand they're printing new actual paper versions of this year, or maybe it was even last year. But I'm kind of happy with my Kindle version for now, and maybe one day we'll upgrade it. The other book that I actually just acquired that I'm real excited about is I did finally pick up the Strike It Rich guide, which I don't know if it goes this far back. Like, I don't know if it does Barbers and Walking Liberties, but it definitely does all your modern pennies, quarters, and nickels and dimes. So very excited to have that book as well. So with that, let's just get back over here and show you the couple of things I have that are going to be upgrades to the book, and we'll call this a video. So I've already filed away all the walking liberties and things that I've purchased, except for the things up here. This is the finds we went over at the beginning of the video, and I just like having those out because I love to show off the fact that we find silver at face value all the time. So I didn't flip this up because I actually have a tube that I've started with these, and I probably have, I don't know, a couple 8, 9, 10 of these already in a tube, so that'll go in a tube. My walkers, or I'm sorry, not my walkers, my Benjamin Franklins will just go with my Benji tube. I already have my nice Dansko album filled with a 1963. I may pop this 1949 in there, but I really did want to try to fill that Dansko with just coin roll hunting finds, but we'll see. I may pull that aside. Again, my 1885 Morgan dollar. I mean, I love these things. I like the look of them, and I love this kind of darker one, this almost antique look to it, so love that. The surprise here for me was that 1920, or that I showed you, the 1920 actually did end up being that D. I missed it as I was filming. You can see that D mint mark right there. So this is the lower mintage, 1920. I do think it's kind of in that maybe AG3 to G4 range. So, you know, I had the prices on the screen earlier. It's more valuable than I thought. But again, in a private sale, and if I can find an eBay comp, I'll throw it on the screen. We're probably still talking in that $10 to maybe $20 range, knowing it's a little bit lower mintage and harder to come by. This is definitely a addition to the book. We did upgrade the 1944D and the 1945, and I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss a mint mark. I didn't. And of course, I'll throw this barber in there with the rest of my barbers up here in my book. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know it's a bit long, but I was excited about the silver finds and silver purchase, and I wanted to take the time to get into some of the tools that I use when I try to kind of grade coins myself to have an idea where they are. And I get questions about that all the time, whether it be on Nextdoor, whether it be through email, or even on the channel. So wanted to make sure we covered that. If you learned something today, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you do drop down below. Let me know in the comments down below. I know I misspoke quite a bit, but that's the nature of doing things a lot of times off the cuff or in a single take, but I try to correct myself using little pop-ups where I misspeak. So let me know in the comments below if you liked it. While you're down there, if you are already, or if you're not already subscribed, which about 80% of you guys, maybe 90% of you that watch my videos are not subscribed, make sure you do click on that subscribe button and click that little bell and select all so you get notified each and every time I release a new video. I'd really appreciate it. We're on quite the sub growth right now. Special shout out to all my channel members. We did pick up at least one new one and one upgraded here over the Christmas holiday. So thank you guys so much. Your monthly support really helps out the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So with that said, you guys all take care. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, a wonderful new year, and I hope 2024 has kicked off with a boom, and you guys are excited about the new year as much as I am. So with that, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.